All right, switching topics. Tomorrow is a special day in America's history. It's known as Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a day that is recognized when Major General Gordon Granger led Union soldiers into Galveston, Texas, to bring news that the Civil War had ended and to read General Order Number 3 that stated, in accordance with President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, all enslaved people are free, and former masters and enslaved people have absolute equality of personal and property rights. I believe this is oftentimes known as the true end of slavery in the United States, the date that the very last part of our country had this order read. Sadly, it was several years after the Emancipation Proclamation itself. During these times when, again, we have heard voice and we have seen the frustration of hundreds of years of the ramifications of slavery, discrimination, of Jim Crow, of segregation, I think it's more and more important that we remind everybody of this dark chapter in our history and that its impacts continue to linger, and that we celebrate the dates that at least portions of it ended. So today, I'm going to sign a proclamation recognizing Juneteenth here in the Commonwealth. I believe it's the first time that it's been recognized. And my commitment is I am going to ask the legislature to recognize it as a state holiday through legislation that would have to pass in the next General Assembly. But I think it's time. It's the right thing to do. And I'm going to do a ceremonial signing today. I'm going to ask my Executive Secretary of the Cabinet, Michael Brown, to read the proclamation, at which point I'll sign it, and we will officially recognize Juneteenth here in the Commonwealth.
Thank you, Governor, and thank you for giving me the opportunity and honor to read this to the public. Whereas, during the Civil War, over 200,000 African Americans fought bravely in the Union armed forces to secure their freedom from slavery and preserve this Union. And many sacrificed their lives for the ultimate freedom of their families. And whereas Juneteenth, National Freedom Day, celebrates the events of June 19, 1865, when Major General Gordon Granger led Union soldiers into Galveston, Texas, to bring news that the Civil War had ended, and to read General Order Number 3, which stated that in accordance with President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, all enslaved African American people were free and entitled to absolute equality of personal and property rights. And whereas, following the statement, which unjustly and unconscionably came 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, leaving African Americans enslaved even though President Lincoln had freed them, June 19th became the emancipation date of enslaved African Americans who had long suffered and fought for freedom, justice, and equality. And whereas throughout America, Juneteenth celebrations are convened on June 19th to celebrate African American history, journey, and culture. And whereas Juneteenth commemorates the strength and courage of African Americans, the contributions of African Americans to the building of American institutions, wealth, innovations, and their ultimate triumph over extreme adversity through sheer determination and overwhelming tenacity. And whereas Kentuckians must continue to work toward a more equitable and just Commonwealth while recognizing the horrors of slavery and its legacy. And whereas recognition of Juneteenth reflects the Commonwealth's resounding belief in liberty and equality for every citizen. Now, therefore, I, Andy Beshear, Governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, do hereby proclaim June 19, 2020 as Juneteenth National Freedom Day in the Commonwealth of Kentucky.